Today I'm going to show you something fascinating, and that's that every single Tanakh manuscript is different from another. There are no two that are exactly the same, and sometimes these differences cause major problems for interpreters and translators over the centuries. And we're going to look at just one case from Proverbs 8:16. What I have for you here is our number of printouts so that we can actually take a look at manuscripts that I don't own and are not in my library. So this is actually in Oxford. It's called Kennicott No. 1. Remember that name, Kennicott. We'll come to it later. And you can see it's just bound beautifully, and there's geometric shapes in the leather. And when we open it up, it has a really nice geometric pattern as an illumination. And this says, hey, this book is important. This book is from the 1400s, about 600 years old, and it is from Spain. It's from Sfarad, which was a very important center for copying biblical texts at that time. And so we open up to our chapter, Proverbs chapter 8, and this is what it looks like. We have our nice two columns, and what we're looking at here is our verse, but it's really tiny, so I printed it out even larger so that we could take a look together. You do not need to know the Hebrew here except for the last word. We're going to get to that last word. But I'm going to translate the whole verse from Hebrew to the English. And here in this chapter, wisdom herself is speaking, not God. Wisdom is speaking, and she says, Bi sarim yasoru. With me, or in me, princes rule. Unedivim kol shoftei aretz. And the nobles, all the judges of the earth. So with wisdom, the nobles, the judges, the princes, all these people are ruling with wisdom. And this is our main word here, aretz. The word aretz, I'll write it the way it's written. Okay, the word aretz, what we see over here, is earth. Aretz, also pronounced eretz, in different places in a verse, and it means earth. And this is the first tradition that we have, that in Proverbs 8:16, all the judges of the earth are ruling with wisdom. The judges of the earth. Now let's look at another book that I do not own, but I printed out for you. So the most important Tanakh, Hebrew Bible, that was ever written by hand is the Aleppo Codex. And this is the Aleppo Codex in its current form. It's in a vault in the basement of the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. And what you can see here, it's in such a condition that it's no longer a book. It's almost like little leaflets, little sections. And when you put all the sections together, you get the book. And this is from the 900s, about 930. So we're talking 1100 years ago. A bit older than the Kennicott No. 1, but still very old. And when we look at it, we can see a very interesting page for our text. It's almost illegible. I'm not sure if you can see this. It's almost fuzzy, like it's coming in fuzzy. And that's because the ink on this page, for one reason or another, has actually started to fall off the parchment. So what I want to do is focus on our verse in the Aleppo Codex. And even though our verse, we don't have all the ink that we originally had, if you know the Hebrew letters, you can make out what it says. And over here we see that wisdom says, with me, who rules? Kol, shoftei, all the rulers of, all the judges of, tzedek, righteousness. And the word is tzedek. I'll write it the way in the script that's written here. Tzedek, it's hard to see that. Tzedek. And so tzedek means righteousness. And so if we were to go back just a little bit, what we're seeing here is that for Proverbs 8:16, in one version we have all the judges of the earth, aretz, And in the other version, we have Kol Shoftei Tzedek, all the judges of righteousness. It's the same verse. It changes the meaning only slightly. This is about righteous judges, and this is about all the judges. So wisdom is either saying the righteous rule with me, or all the rulers rule with me, all the judges. And so this is our variant. So this text is different than this text. And if you ask yourself, well, how did this happen? How does something like this happen? I'll just keep these two separate for now. You ask, how does this happen? We can kind of like draw a diagram. So here you have text A, and it gets copied by a scribe who creates text B. Now these two get separated over time in place. This one, let's say, goes east. This one goes west. And then all of a sudden, this gets copied again and again and again. And this gets copied again and again and again. And then finally, what you end up with are different text groups. Lots of different texts. A. These are all the A group. And then you'll end up with the B group. This happens anytime you have handwritten manuscripts that get copied over and over again. Things like geography or other issues can also come up that lead to this. But basically, there was a change from A to B, and we don't really know which one was A and which one was B. We can never know for sure, but something happened. It could have been on purpose, but most likely it was an accident. And what you end up with is text A and text B. For our cases, let's just say that this is the earth group, and this is the righteous group. And this could have gone either way. Not necessarily the earth was original. The righteous could have been original, and the earth was copied. It could have gone either way. So these are the variants that we have. These are our text groups. And if you ask yourself, well, how did this happen? When did this happen? Right? This is from the 1400s. This is from the 930s. When did this happen? I want to show you something very interesting in this particular case. We're looking at Codex Sinaiticus from St. Catherine's Monastery in Egypt, in the Sinai Desert. A Greek Bible was found. Here it is. It's hard to see on this page, but I printed it up for us. And this Bible, if you actually look at it, it's about, I think it's from the 300s. But really the Greek translation is older than the 300s. It's anywhere between 2,000 and maybe a little bit more years old. And when we look at it over here, we can see that the word at the end of Judges 8:16 is ges. Ges. And ges means earth. So 2,000 years ago, the Greek translation was writing earth. So that would kind of go in this camp over here. We can put this in we'll get our things out of order here, we'll put it in this camp. So we're talking 2,000 years ago, there's already attestation for the earth version. But just after the Septuagint, or the Old Greek as it's more properly called, just after the Septuagint, we actually have another translation of the Tanakh into Aramaic. And over here we can see Dit Ritsuta, which means of righteousness or honesty, uprightness. So over here we see in the Greek translation earth, and then over here we see righteousness, which is tzedek. Tzedek, righteousness. So we'll put that over here. All right, so thus far we've seen the idea that you can have variants. Not only do we know that you can have variants, we also know that the variants can be very old, and we've seen them even before the Aleppo Codex. We saw them 2,000 years ago existing. So we have all of these different variants, but now the question is, what about our Bibles? So before we even go into more modern Bibles, what I would like is for you to actually pause this video, literally go onto your computer, your app, your shelf, wherever you read the Bible, and take a look at Proverbs 8:16 And ask yourself, is the last word earth? Or is the last word something like righteousness or justice or something along those lines? Unpause the video and then come right back and we'll actually take a look at how this variant has played out over the centuries. So over here, I want to show you the most important Bible in Hebrew studies, the Tanakh, for at least 300, 400 years. And if you own one of these, we're talking tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is the 1525 Second Rabbinic Bible. And what we see over here is that it's a Rabbinic Bible, so you're going to have your biblical text, and you're going to have rabbinic commentaries around it. Now, the rabbinic commentaries are very important, but for our purposes, we're just taking a look at the actual text. This was the authoritative text amongst Jewish circles and even Christian circles for Hebrew Bible studies. So let's take a look. This is what a page looks like. And when we look very closely, you see here's our biblical text and then all the rabbinic stuff around it. When we zoom in very closely on our verse, we can actually see Kol Shoftei Aretz, all the judges of the earth. So the 1525 Bible, which was the text for 300-400 years, this was it when it came to Hebrew Tanakh study. This is earth. Earth. So let's put it in our pile over here of the Aretz, the earth pile. Okay. Now, 300 years after this came out, in the 1800s, there was a push to make a new Bible, more updated and more accurate. And here we're looking at one of those people who did this, named Seligman Bayer. And, I wasn't sure if I should show you this, and I decided I would show you it just because this book that I own is just really phenomenal. You can just see all these notes. If you can zoom in here, one of the previous owners has studied Proverbs so seriously. These notes are really detailed, and to me this is just amazing that someone would study the book so detailed with the knowledge of Hebrew and Greek. Whoever was doing this was really focusing on the Greek. But let's take a look. Let's take a look at 8:16. Kol Shoftei Aretz, all the judges of the earth. So I'm going to put this book from the 1800s in this pile. Okay, we have a nice pile getting started, and here we're going to look at the English translation of the Jewish Publication Society. My previous video was actually the update of this, if you want to check that out. But basically, in this book from 1917, we can see, we go to our verse 16, by me princes rule, and nobles, even all the judges of the earth. If you can make that, I know it's tiny, but if you can make that out, judges of the earth. So the next thing I want to do is now go and take a look, and let's take a look at this pile. So this is the Tanakh that I was given for my bar mitzvah. When I first started studying Tanakh, the first time I ever read through the whole thing, it was in this book, right here. And so this to me is very important personally, but I was curious. I haven't used it in a long time. I haven't used it. So I want to see, what does this book have? This art scroll. This is by the Art Scroll Company. What's it called? Just Tanakh, the Stone Edition. And over here, I want to take a look in both in their Hebrew and in their English. We're going to take a look at Pasuk Tetvav, where we have Kol Shoftei Tzedek, all the judges of righteousness. There it is. Let's see it in the English. All who judge righteously. So this is our first one. We're seeing, it depends on which Bible you have on your shelf. This one has earth. This one has justice. Okay, let's continue. The next thing I wanted to show you is this. This is what I was talking about, that I just made a video with the translators of this. And what this is an update of this Jewish Publication Society. This is the second update. And let's take a look what they have. It's only in English for now, but we can figure out the Hebrew beneath. And it's going to be, through me princes rule, great men, and all the righteous judges. Righteous. There's a little note, B, according to some Hebrew manuscripts and printed editions, judges of the earth. So they're telling you really can go two ways with this one. But they decided to go with righteousness, righteous judges, and they are over here. Okay. The next stage book that I want to show you is this one. This is the Biblia Hebraica Quinta. It's the next version of the Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia, and it's a very popular scholarly Bible. Check out my channel if you want to learn how to use this thing. And let's take a look over here. We have Kol Shoftei Tzedek, righteousness. There it is, righteousness. And now let's actually take a look at the bottom. 16, we have over here Tzedek, and they're saying there's a different version of Geis, earth, in the Greek. Okay, and they have this thing KR. See that KR? CKR. Now, that's going to lead us to our next section of this study. Okay, so for those of you who have never seen anything like this before and are wondering, wait, David, how did you find that? Like, how did you know about that? It's about those initials KR in that book that we just saw, the Biblia Hebraica. KR stands for two people, Kennicott. Remember Kennicott number 1? Kennicott and De Rossi. Kennicott and De Rossi, they really looked through all these manuscripts, hundreds of manuscripts, to find these variants. So let's take a look at what they say for us. So I don't own Kennicott, but what I did was, it's a very rare book, but what I did was I printed it out on demand. You can do that nowadays. You can print on demand and it'll ship to you. I believe this came from India. They ship it to you. Whatever old book you want, they'll print it and ship it to you. And over here we're looking at Kennicott. And you can see the way it works is you have Proverbs chapter 8. We're going to have our verse. It has the word aretz in there. It's hard to see. But what's more important than up here is down here. And I'll show you with this printout. Down here, this is number 16. This is right here. The difference in size, you can see it. And over here what we see is Tzedek Aretz. These are your two variants. And if you want to find Aretz, take a look at these different books, these numbers. And if you look very closely, Kennicott mentions number 1. That's how I found that manuscript. Kennicott mentioned number 1. I said, let me go find it. I looked up Kennicott number 1, and it was in Team Aretz. And so Kennicott was the first one to show how to do this. And then the second one is I am lucky to own, and I normally don't get to show anyone this, but I will show it because it is directly relevant. This is De Rossi's book. And De Rossi, this is from the 1700s, I believe. And De Rossi here on our chapter 8, verse 16, Aretz Terra, earth, Tzedek, Justite, justice, says see Kennicott number 1, right? That's what we looked at together. And then all these other Kennicott numbers. And then what he says is he has more numbers himself. So he says, where does he have it? I'm looking for it. It's a long note, but he says these are mine manuscripts. You should take a look at mine as well, not just the Kennicott ones. All right. So this is, if you're interested in finding variants, just go through this book. This is Proverbs 8:16. Well, what about the next one? Is going to be 8:17 and 8:35. These are where they're finding variants in the biblical text that we know as the Masoretic text. All right. So now that we've done all this, we figured out, we know what a variant is, we know how it comes about, and we also know how old these are. These are really ancient. Now that we've done all of this, what we can do is actually put it into real practical knowledge. So let me show you something, and we'll end with this, that no two manuscripts are the same, and with this we can actually explain this. Somebody emailed me this, and this is why I picked this example. Working backwards, this is really why all these texts were chosen. It's a website called machonmamre.org, and for many, many years, Machon Mamre was the Tanakh on the internet. It was the best version, it was the most popular version, everyone who was using it. In the last decade or so, that many other better websites have come around, or more popular websites, not necessarily better, but more popular. Okay? And on their website, they have a Hebrew-English Tanakh. And what do we see over here? On the English side, we have all the judges of the earth. And on the Hebrew side, we have tzedek, righteousness. Now, if you didn't know what we just discussed, if you had no concept of a variant, you might say to yourself, well, the English translation is a loose interpretation of the Hebrew. So tzedek is righteous, maybe the earth is righteous, maybe tzedek is widespread, the earth is widespread. You might try and come up with some incorrect interpretation. But now that we know what we do, we actually know that this text comes from the earth group, and this text comes from the tzedek, the righteousness. And if you want to know specifically, it comes from this, the Aleppo Codex. This is the Aleppo Codex text. And this right here, if you want to know specifically, is the JPS 1917 translation. So these are on two sides of the divide, but for the sake of simplicity, this website just combined them, zipped them together, and now they're one new Franken text, so to speak, all of it together. That's it. If you like studying Biblical Hebrew, you should come study Biblical Hebrew with me at the Jewish Theological Seminary, where we have 5 levels of courses in Hebrew at any given time. If you're a true beginner, start there. If you want to join us at a more advanced level, you're more than welcome to. And we have a Biblical Hebrew certificate program. We just had 40 graduates this year, really fantastic. You are welcome to join us online. And I look forward to seeing you soon for the 3rd installment of our Hebrew manuscript studies.